So if you've been struggling to find any sort of consistency over the last 12 months, this is the exact video that you need, right? We're going to go ahead and we're going to cover a process, right? Because I'm a firm believer in most people, when they come and find and sort of look for the goal that they want to have in the new year, they just focus on, oh, I want to make, I don't know, 10K a month or this payout or that payout. You need to find the exact process which is actually going to get you to your goal, right? So I'm going to show you the exact processes that you need to follow, or some of the key ones that you can go ahead and implement on a daily basis. If you do this every single day, you're inevitably going to get 1% better and you're going to get to the goal, right? Number 2 is that I'm going to show you a high probability trade setup. So this was a setup over the sort of holiday period. So not something that I did trade, but just something I want to show, break down, and sort of just break down what a high probability setup actually looks like in my eyes. And then hopefully you can take away some of the tools that I used in there to go ahead and formulate your own high probability setup. Okay, so number 1, right? What process am I actually referring to? So the number 1 process you need to focus on is getting better at bias, right? That's the most important thing out of every single other task that you could be dealing with right now. So this is Notion, right? So what I would say is go ahead, make a page like this. I'll call it high probability days analysis, yeah? Then what you want to do is you want to break the day into 3 different parts, right? So you've got the analysis the night before, you've got intra-market analysis, where you're analyzing the pair real time, and then your post-market analysis. So let's go on to one from DXY here. So in this example, this is a DXY 7th of January 2025, right? I could probably put the day of the week there as well. So first of all, you're going to do your pre-market game plan. Okay, so this is where you're going to go ahead, mark out where you think the next day is likely to expand to, right? So let me just show you what I did in this one. Just as a heads up, I got this one wrong, right? And that's completely normal. You're going to always get them right. And over time, you're going to get better, right? So in this example, I said I want to see price move towards this inefficiency inside this discount zone, right? So when you're looking to do the pre-market analysis or the pre-market game plan, which again is normally the night before, I would recommend using the idea of liquidity, fair value, and premium and discount, right? Keep it very simple. If you want more understanding of sort of how I break down higher time frame institutional order flow, then yeah, you can go ahead and watch any of my other videos. Also, I have obviously private resources you can look into as well. So here's the most important thing, right? So on the daily, so I did this in the morning, right? Because this was post London session. So either you're going to do it in the sort of pre-morning, or you can do it both as well, but you're going to do it pre-morning, and then you're going to do it before, let's say, whatever session you're looking to trade. So let's just say you're a New York trader, then potentially you may allow London to play, give you more information for your New York position. So then I've said basically here, daily disrespecting bearish arrays, okay? Sorry, that should actually say disrespecting bullish arrays. Let me change that. Okay, and forming equal lows, right? So my bias for the day labeled with an arrow was bearish, okay? And I mentioned some, so that this was sort of my draw on liquidity is my liquidity target. You can write that in more detail in your own one, right? Also mentioned how it's NFP week, so it's sort of what's my protocol here. Look for the first 3 days to potentially facilitate some sort of move, and then wait for NFP, right? And then I've marked the FEG that I wanted to see price move away from, and so on and so forth, right? Market maker sell model, etc., etc. Okay, so then we're going to go to the intra session, right? So the intra session is me updating this over time. FEG formed, so FEG rejected nicely. H1 profile, I just like to include different time frames in there. And then I mentioned how if we got sort of this close through with displacement, etc., etc., that I'd potentially look for something. We didn't get any displacement. Oh no, sorry. So with this cycle, the high needed to get made at past 1 o'clock, okay? And we didn't. So I was just marking up all of them, basically just tape reading here, okay? Because the main sort of takeaway from this whole entire process is, number one, you're going to get good at understanding where the day is likely to print. But second of all, you're then going to get good at understanding how the day is likely to unfold. Okay, so in relation to like news events and all that sort of stuff. So eventually we go ahead, take the high out. Now I'm like, cool, if we displace lower, I'm good to play this within a specific time window, which it doesn't give. And then, price just ends up flying, right? So bias didn't play out in the end, no lower time frame confirmation. So I didn't get hurt by this, but also the bias didn't play out as intended, okay? So this is sort of me analyzing New York. And then from that, you can go ahead, write a summary down and say, okay, cool. What did you do well? What did you do poorly? Was there anything that you missed that if you noticed this, then potentially you would have had the correct bias? Yeah. So these are all the things you want to analyze. And sometimes you're going to just not get the bias right, but it's going to fit all your understanding and rules. Okay. So first of all, number one, it's basically you need to go ahead, make one of these documents, and then analyze this on a regular basis. Maybe you want to filter them, sort of the right bias, the wrong bias. But the other thing you want to do is go ahead and actually analyze this on a regular basis. Okay. So with this sort of tool, when you're going to get good at bias. Okay. But number two, you potentially will understand how the day unfolds. And that's what sort of I use to analyze and frame a high probability setup, right? Because I look for the daily cycles which are effectively brought to light or noticed through the documentation of these different dates. So that's the main process you want to follow, right? Once you get good at that, okay, then you can go ahead and start to create rules around sort of your trading. Okay, so let me just give you an example of a high probability setup here on Euro here, right? If we go on the weekly, to me, we're in a sell program, right? Bearish arrays are being respected. If you notice how we were presenting ourselves higher here, we had a shift in market structure at this level. Basically, we had a failure swing, meaning that price failed to go ahead, create this higher high, and then went lower. Okay, technically speaking, you could say via the wicks, yes, we did make a higher high, which is completely fine. So again, then you could just say, okay, cool, this was just a simple market structure shift, close displacement lower, depending on how you look at it. Price then went lower, and as you can see, every time we traded into a bearish level, we respected it and went lower. As you can see in this area here, we respected this FEG, formed this swing point, and we had a bearish week, okay, creating equal lows. So I'm essentially looking for the following week, right? Or sorry, just to mention, then we had an in-bar week, right? So because we were around that holiday time, a lot of these weeks I don't trade personally, and this is exactly why, right? You're gonna get weeks such as this where they're very inactive, they don't really go anywhere, and you would have basically sat there waiting for price to reach for, let's say, previous week's low or high, and we didn't. So anyway, we form an FEG. We already know that we're in a sell program, and any formation of a bearish array, especially like a weekly SIBI, should get respected. Okay, so number one, right, when you frame these higher time frame expansions, what I would say is you want to frame it based on where you think the weekly is likely to print. Okay, so if you are looking for a bearish print, right, then you want to go ahead and position yourself on the daily in sells. Okay, so you want to wait for the daily to be confirmed, in the sense that you're confident that the following days are going to be bearish, and then just position yourself inside that weekly expansion, right? As you get better, yes, you can trade this move higher and potentially trade the TGIF. Yes, that's completely fine. But as a more, let's say you're just trying to get to grips with what a high probability setup actually looks like, I would just focus predominantly on getting behind that weekly expansion, okay? And essentially just following the trend of that weekly candle like that. So let's go on the daily now. So in terms of then how do we forecast Mondays, I'll give you a very, very sort of simple rule of thumb. When we look for a classic sell week, right? So something like this. Okay, and there's 3 weekly cycles, but I'm just going to cover the one in this one. Let's say we're anticipating a classic weekly expansion or a classic sell profile. Basically, either Monday, okay, or Tuesday is gonna create high of the week, okay. Then Wednesday is gonna create majority of that weekly expansion to the downside, and Thursday / Friday is gonna create low of the week, okay. It's gonna look something like this. So we don't know, right, if Monday is going to create high of the week or Tuesday is going to create high of the week before it's even printed in the first place. But we know potentially one of them is going to. So what you can do is simply put, just leave Monday to see what it does, okay? Because there's only really going to be 2 scenarios here. You're either going to have Monday go down aggressively, forming this order block, and then Tuesday you're going to continue shorting, anticipating Monday to be high of the week here, okay? Or Monday is going to go ahead, go higher, right? Maybe create this upper wick of the candle, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, and consider lower prices, right? Equally, Monday could also just consolidate here, okay? So to stop us getting trapped by Monday, right, we'll just allow Monday to print, because after Monday, everything else is way clearer. I.e., if it's a manipulation, we know we're going to anticipate distribution. If we get a strong displacement lower, then we know we're going to see the following candles distribute. And if we get a consolidation, then we don't get caught offside by any sort of manipulation, because we know that potentially the next candle is going to be that manipulation, okay? So let's just let Monday print out and let's see what it does. Okay, so we get a nice aggressive candle into the weekly FVG, okay, filling it. We then get a nice aggression or displacement away. We'll check what that looks like on the 4 hour and the 1 hour as well. And also we've taken out liquidity here. Okay, so we understand smart money wise that smart money's gone ahead, paired orders with willing buyers above these highs. Where is price looking to distribute those positions, or smart money looking to distribute those positions? It would be to old lows, okay, where there'll be willing sellers. So we understand liquidity taken on a Monday, right? The weekly has started to tip its hand and tell us that we've respecting bearish arrays, taken liquidity, and that Tuesday is likely to be that strong expansion to the downside, okay? So let's actually go ahead and do a bit more analysis on an intraday perspective as well, on a 4 hour and a 1 hour. On the 4 hour, we can see the change in state of delivery, a bit unclean. Probably go on the 1 hour to show it off a bit better. There we go. You can see that a bit more obvious here. We're in that sort of buy program, shift in state, sell program, strong closure. So we get that market structure shift. So if you was building strategy out of this, right, you could literally say, okay, cool, looking for Wednesday to, looking for the week to print bearish, right? Check number 1. So basically the checklist might be like, where do I think the weekly is going to go? And then you're looking for on an hourly / 4 hour time frame, some major liquidity swept and a market structure shift. And once you've got that, you can go ahead and then be a seller every single day until, let's say, Thursday, for example, right, or Wednesday. So FEG formed, market structure shift, very, very clean. And then let's see what we essentially do inside of this. So just to mention as well, on the daily, we're now looking for each day, okay, to be printed bearish, right? So my daily bias now after liquidity grab is bearish. So every single day I'm anticipating price to go ahead and print lower, okay? Just to sort of reiterate that. So let's let Asia play out. There we go. So Asia forms. All right, and now this is where my daily cycles come into play, okay? So for me, I have a set of cycles that I will anticipate to play out. and sort of those are my higher time frame, not higher time frame. They're like my intraday blueprints. Okay, to in which I want to see price unfold within. Okay, so for example, I'd want to see, or it depends, right, what cycle is going to form in this, but it can be like, let's say, London protraction would be, I want to see Asia swept and I want to see some displacement lower, for example. Okay, let's just say you aren't trading without daily cycles for the sake of, let's just us looking at this plainly, right? You can draw out the daily open. Okay, now the daily open will sort of be like a filter that we can use. So we know that anything above this daily open is a great sort of entry on price, right? Because that's going to represent the upper wick of the daily candle. Okay, so if you think about, let's say we want to see the day be bearish, entering above the daily open, right, is going to enable you to be inside of the upper wick of the daily candle, which is going to be the best fill in this entire expansion of this daily candle. Okay, so we can work that out as a sort of filter area. It doesn't mean that if we're beneath it you can't enter anymore. It's just a level there in which it will sort of show you, okay, cool, this is, anything above this is like the upper wick of the daily candle. Okay, so let's play along. So what time is it? 8 o'clock. So we create equal highs here. Okay, what time is this? 8:45. See what we do here. Okay, I just want to change the color of this. There we go. Okay, so for me, this high is created at 9:45, right? So because it's created in the final hour, I will then wait till New York to enter a trade, right? So let's see. So right off the bat, we get a nice CSD here. Let's just keep playing price along. And let's wait for New York rise. That's what I would do. What time is it? 12. Okay, cool. So now that 12 has come around, right? This is what I'd call an early MY reversal. That's what I'd anticipate to essentially play out, right? This is where, or in this specific example, the high is made in the final hour of London, and I'd like to see sort of New York open up and start running aggressively to the downside, right? So on the 15-minute, we've had some strong displacement to the downside, and the 15-minute order flow is forming here, right? We can see the presence of FEGs, order blocks forming, okay, and price respecting those FEGs. So based on that cycle, I could enter here, right, with my stop, let's say here, or maybe you want it a bit more conservative, it's completely fine. And I would TP based on time anyway, but let's just say the lower target, which was these equal lows, would be the target on the day. Okay, also the things with entry is there's so many ways to go about it, right? You could, for example, wait for a stronger displacement between these lows. Once that happens, you could enter after that if you wanted to. All right, so there you go. Nice displacement. If you thought, yep, you know what, now I feel confident in the move, you could enter here with a stop under this swing high or this swing high, as we shouldn't really come back to tag these FEGs again. But again, it's all personal preference, right? Let's just say I entered, or sorry, let's just say the area will be here, right? So if we just break down everything that we've done, as you can see, we've built the higher time frame first, right? I know I'm a seller on this day. Simply put, I am then waiting for price to displace lower on an intraday time frame to qualify the fact that I am bearish, right? Another reason why I'd be confidently bearish in this specific setup as well is because the high has been created in London. Okay, so if you, again, this you'll get this from analyzing multiple different days. But for example, if you went ahead and you looked at all your sell days, right, that you record inside of Notion, you'll be able to analyze how many of them create the high of the high of the day inside of London and then run lower, right? So that in and of itself is going to give you confidence and data to sort of just help you make better decisions in the market, right? So the fact that we made the high in London and we've displaced lower, I'm confident in that high staying just based on my experience and data that I've plowed through, right? So anyway, let's allow this to play. So move lower, let's get rid of this as well. Forms another FEG, right? So again, you could have been like to me, you know what, your entry was too aggressive. I would have waited for the displacement beneath this swing low and then an FEG here, okay? And there you go, perfectly played out, right? You could have, like I said, any entry above this daily open is great, and it really doesn't matter. It could even have been a scaling, right? And understand as well, we're on the 15-minute here, okay? I know a lot of you are M1 warriors, right? All the way up here trying to get in on the most craziest entry. And again, I'm just showing you, it's not even necessary. Like, you don't need to be that guy who needs the most craziest entry. If you know the day is going to go lower and it's poised to go lower and you've got the confluence there, you don't really need to worry about the entry too much. Okay, all you're looking to do is just get on site, right? For example, you could have just played an OTE, like a OTE from here to here, right? You don't even need an FEG to enter. As soon as you've got that displacement in your direction, right? Plus, for me, it would be the confluence of the daily cycle, right? Knowing that, okay, cool, the high is likely to be made here. I know I'm not going to enter till New York because, again, just sort of my rule set for this specific cycle. And because I've seen this cycle play out a million times, I'm confident in anticipating this high to hold. Now, again, let's say it didn't, and let's just say price did this. No issue there, right? If we sweep that and it still aligns with a cycle, which would be an NY reversal cycle for me, then cool. I'm just going to play the retest of that level and go lower, right? No issues there. So as you can see, the more experience you gain, the better you're going to get at doing this, okay? So with this cycle, normally the TP region is the last 30 minutes of London close, okay? So sort of this period here. Let me just mark that out in grey. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna wait for that region, right, to go ahead and take profit in this set example. Okay, again, look, offers another entry, another FEG. Yeah. Okay, multiple levels. It taps the order block round here, goes lower, goes lower. Okay, now we're inside of that final 30 minutes, and that's where I'd most likely go ahead and take majority of the position. Yes, we hadn't reached the final draw, okay, which is completely fine, but that's how I do it, just based on time a lot of the time. Okay, right, there we go. All right, so it's very close. The low of the session came in at, what was that, 5:30, so an hour after sort of my ideal time based TP. Again, completely fine. I haven't exactly left much on the table there. Okay, so that's basically my breakdown of exactly how I'd go ahead and sort of frame this and do this. Hopefully you have seen it from a simplistic standpoint. I think that's what I'm trying to get at here. Like, I haven't used no crazy rule set, any crazy technicals. Like, everything's very basic, simple here, right? I do also call these myself. So like, for example, ahead of the day, right? Not this specific one because I wasn't trading this week or this specific week that this played out in. But for example, I'd go ahead, call that inside of my group. So if you do want access to that, then that is the first link in the description. But yeah, pretty much, I guess with this whole channel and sort of with this whole thing, I'm just trying to show you how to frame stuff from a high probability perspective, how you can add rule sets yourself to go ahead and be able to forecast these days. Okay, so anyways, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I wish you a profitable 2025,